Hey folks, welcome to the Do-It-Yourself Dad channel. Today we're playing around with a new toy. This is the Tank X11 from SMOROBOT, and it is a automatic robotic pool cleaner. You heard of robot cleaners for your house? This is one for your pool. This is more than just a bump and go robot. It makes some pretty hefty claims. We're going to test it out in this video and see how well it performs. Now, this thing is supposed to be able to go in your pool, clean up and down all the walls and the floor in a pattern so you actually don't miss any spots. In this video, we're going to be testing it out in this is a 22,000 gallon freeform pool, and then we're also going to be testing it out in a 7,000 gallon above ground pool. At the end of the video, I'm going to be going over all the pros and cons of this thing, so you're going to want to watch to the end to see how well it does. Now, this pool is traditionally cleaned with a pool sweep, and the nice part about this is that it is hooked in with a line, but all it does is vacuum stuff up. It doesn't actually really scrub the floor of the pool, and it is random, so it could miss spots. The X11, on the other hand, is battery powered. It'll run for 4.5 hours on a battery. We're going to be testing that out, and it actually has a scrub bar here that actually scrubs your pool, so it gets all the dirt, algae, and debris up and supposedly into the tank. Moving on to the other side of it, you have a charging port, and this is actually better than a lot of the other underwater contraption charging ports I've dealt with. It actually screws on, so you know you have a nice tight waterproof seal. And then going in under the hood, you have a large debris tank. And it actually comes with two different debris tanks with different screens on it. One of them is more for leaves, the other one will do leaves and fine debris like sand and algae. The one that we have in here today is the fine debris one because we do usually get a little bit of sand and stuff in this pool. Now, we've spent enough time talking about this thing. Let's get it in the pool, and let's get me in the pool. It is hot out. And setting up and getting in the water is pretty simple. After you've charged it, you have the off mode, the standard mode, and the fast mode. You select the mode you want. We're gonna flip it over into standard mode. The lights will light up, and you wait until they turn green with a little yellow flashing. You got to leave it on level ground. And once you have that green light with the little yellow flashers, submerge it in the water until all the air gets out of it, and then let it sink to the bottom. It will sit on the bottom for a few minutes while it calibrates itself, and then it starts its cleaning process. It typically starts by cleaning the walls. Once it's done with all the walls, it moves to the floor of the pool. All right, it is way too hot out. It's time to get wet. So now that I've cooled off and I've gotten myself in the pool, I have to let you know that this is not the first time I've run this robot. I've actually been running it for several weeks in my pool at home. Now, for this portion of the video, I'm just going to show you the function of it, and we're going to save the pros and cons of this thing to the very end. Now, as you can see here, the first thing that it does is it starts mapping its way around the pool, and it figures out where the edges are. It goes up the edges of the pool, and then it backs back down them, it corrects itself, and goes up again, the same way you would really vacuum a floor at home. Now, something really neat about this thing is it gets all the way up to the water line, which oftentimes is where I find a collection of crud and junk. So the thing will actually come up to the water line, come above the water line, and scrub the edge of your pool, just like you're seeing here. Now, something you may notice with this is the water looks like it's got a lot of particulate in it, and that is actually because this thing is doing such a good job scrubbing the walls. It's getting stuff out of the PebbleTech. This is a PebbleTech pool, so it's actually getting stuff out and brushing stuff that hasn't been gotten out by the other pool sweep that this pool has. Now, one thing we were really curious about was what this thing would do when it encountered steps. And as we'll see right here, what it does is it goes up the step and it kind of wheelies to the next vertical step. So it will make its way up the steps. Now, what I've noticed is when it does the steps, sometimes it goes up this way and sometimes it flops itself over on its belly and actually cleans the steps. So it does take a couple passes through to get the steps totally clean, but it does actually do a pretty good job doing it. Once the robot is done cleaning the walls of the pool, it starts working on the bottom, and it does this by kind of working itself side to side, like I said before, the same way you would with a vacuum cleaner. So it goes to one edge, it senses the edge, it backs up, it turns around, and goes to the other edge, and it works its way all the way across the pool. So now that we played with it in a large freeform pool, I'm now going to throw it in my pool at home. This is my 7,000 gallon oval Doughboy pool. It's going to be interesting to see what it does in here because this has a very flat bottom and vertical side, so those transitions are very, very sudden. So it'll be interesting to see what it does and how it performs in a pool like this. Now, the startup process on an above ground pool is exactly the same as an in-ground pool. You just turn it on to whichever setting you want, whether you want the fast clean setting or the standard clean setting, and let it sink to the bottom. Once it hits the bottom, you'll actually see the lights turn yellow, and then it starts figuring out the pool. Now, in this pool, it did the exact same thing as the large pool, where the first thing it did was it located the walls and started scrubbing the walls. Now in the case of this pool, you see here the transitions between the floor and the wall are very sudden. And I was a little concerned with whether this thing was going to be able to make that transition from the bottom to the side. And it did it no problem every time. And what's really neat to watch, you can see there the little propeller that's spinning. That thing is what providing suction, and it actually sucks itself to the wall of the pool as it's scrubbing. In the case of my above ground pool, since the pool is a lot smaller, it did make it around the edge a lot quicker. So it actually did make it around the edge of the pool 2 full times before it transitioned to the bottom of the pool. Once it completed the sides, it did the same thing as the big pool and it transitioned to the bottom. And with this pool, because it is an oval, it was really neat to see it gridding out the pool. It pretty much did perfect lines back and forth. Now, one of the issues I have with this pool, and you see a lot of debris and little stuff in it, is this pool is surrounded by citrus trees. So not only do I get leaves in the pool, I get the little citrus buds as well. They look like little rocks and they're a pain to get out of the pool. And this thing had zero problems picking up the little rocks. I actually have another pool sweep for this pool, and the inlet where the filter pulls everything in is pretty small, and sometimes it actually gets clogged with those things. This thing, if you flip it over, the inlet's pretty big, and I didn't have any problems with large leaves or with any of the debris from my trees getting stuck in the little mouth of it. And now, through the magic of video editing, let's teleport back over to the big pool and talk about the process of getting this thing out of the pool and also the process of cleaning out the basket. Now, once it's done with this cleaning process, it will park itself close to a wall to make it a little bit easier to get out. And there are 2 ways to get this out of your pool. It comes with this. This is a hook that you can put on your pool pole, and that hook can grab the handle on the robot. The other option is it also comes with this. This is a cord and a float with a hoop on it. You can tie it to your robot, and that way you can just grab it from the surface and get it out of the water. Now, out of the pool, we pop the hood, and we can get our waste basket out, and you can see all the stuff that I got out of the pool. And you can see here, in addition to all the leaf debris that's in here, we also got a lot of very small sediment. So the little sediment screen is actually doing a really good job filtering everything out of the pool. So now that we're out of the pool and we're dry again, what are my final thoughts on the Tank X11? As you know, if you've been around the channel, I'm a huge nerd. I've got robots everywhere in my house cleaning stuff, and I'm excited to get this thing in the pool. The pros and cons of this thing does a very good job getting all the way up and cleaning the walls, and it scrubs the walls, which none of my other pool sweeps do. So it does a really good job scrubbing the walls and getting the algae detached from the walls, which is a big plus. The one concern I have with this thing is the wear and tear on these brushes. The brushes looks like silicone, and in a pool like this, which is PebbleTech, these will wear down pretty quick. Now, I did contact the manufacturer and ask them about replacement parts, and they said replacement parts are available. The brushes are gonna run about $20 US, and the treads are gonna run about $20 US. So if you're running this in a pool with PebbleTech or a coarser texture, you can get replacement parts, which is very, very necessary for things like these. Now, one thing just to be aware of is I do have these vertical kind of concave ridges that run vertically around my above ground pool, and it did get stuck on a couple of these now and then. It never got stuck permanently though, so just something to be aware of, that if you have an above ground pool or something with an edge like this, it did get hung up on it, but after wiggling around for a minute or two, it did get itself free. So just keep an eye on it, but it was never an issue for me. It did do a really good thorough job. It did pull the sediment out of the pool. It did pull the leaves out of the pool. I like that you don't have to run additional pumps, which you would have to do for like a Polaris type system. And it's very easy to get the whole thing out of the pool. You're not dealing with hoses and tangles and stuff like that. Now, I will have a link for this thing down in the description below if you want to check it out for yourself. Please let me know if you have any questions about it. I would be happy to answer them down in the description below. Hit that subscribe button because we got lots of stuff just like this, pool tips and tricks and stuff for all over the house coming your way. And of course, thanks for watching.